Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. I am your superior webhead master, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs, and joining me, as always, is your resident Green Lantern Professor, Travis Grossman.
Almost forgot how that worked.
I thought for a brief moment you were about to shotgun that Mountain Dew.
Nah, we get all over this.
Which
Also,
was why I was slightly concerned for a moment.
The camera can't see it, but the computer barely has space on this desk because it's just surrounded by piles and piles of magic cards.
Is those your reaped winnings from your event you went to?
No, they're not.
Damn. Yeah, so hi guys. We're back. I took a little breaky for my vacation, and also the post-celebration cram was a lot. But we're back. Ms. Marvel is on and popping. The boys are holy shit, the boys.
It is content summer, and I have not consumed all of it. Let me tell you.
No, I am caught up on the boys. Travis is a little behind on that. I am caught up on Ms. Marvel. I confused myself because I know the first two episodes were shown at a premiere, and I thought the first two episodes were on Disney. So I psyched myself into thinking last night I would be watching 2 episodes of Ms. Marvel, but it was only 1. Which in hindsight kind of disappointed because I thought it was really cool and cute. But before we jump into all of the TV talk and some weird fucking news, maybe the weirdest news of the year so far. We're first going to jump in and say hello to our sponsors at SundaysBloodyMary.com. You guys know the drill by now. SundaysBloodyMary.com has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy. I like me my spicy Caesar mix. They also have the mild and vegan mix if spiciness and animal product is not for you. They have a subscription box, so you can get 2 jars every month, and they have pickled garnishes with their okra, dilly beans, and asparagus, and merch as well. So go on over to SundaysBloodyMary.com/shop. Use code TNAP at checkout, and you get 10% off your order, and you help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Our first story here is the most important story of the day, and I did not feel comfortable leading with this in our title or our thumbnail because I feel like we'd be hawking it, and I don't feel super cool with that. But as some of you may know, last week it was in the news that Ezra Miller, on top of the rash of attacks they are responsible for in Hawaii, is also accused of grooming and harassing a minor who is now 18, but still. Well, the story has developed as follows. Ezra Miller, grooming allegations deep in court, cannot locate or serve them, per the LA Times. The parents of an 18-year-old from North Dakota have obtained a protective order against the Flash star Ezra Miller, adding another scandal for the embattled actor to contend with. The teen's parents and law enforcement are having a hard time locating Miller to serve the actor with the order, which accuses Miller of physically and emotionally abusing and grooming the teen. They are from an indigenous reservation. I say that ahead of time for the names. Attorney and activist Chase Iron Eyes and his wife Sarah Jumping Eagle petitioned the Standing Rock Sioux tribe court on a reservation in North Dakota Tuesday to issue an order of protection for their child, Dakota Iron Eyes. They accuse the 29-year-old Justice League star of psychologically manipulating, physically intimidating, and endangering the safety and welfare of Dakota Iron Eyes, according to court documents obtained Thursday by the Times. A tribal court approved the interim order on Tuesday, but the court cannot locate or serve Miller, according to a copy of the petition. In a Thursday phone interview with the Times, Chase Iron Eyes said he and the court have no idea had no idea of knowing where Dakota and Ezra are to gain help from other jurisdictions. He is with the child to serve or enforce the order, which bars Miller from contacting and harassing Dakota and Chase Iron Eyes and Jumping Eagle for 30 days. Miller is also ordered to stay 100 yards away from the family's residence during that time. The court set a hearing for July 12th to allow Dakota and Miller to appear and weigh in, Iron Eyes said. According to the domestic abuse protection order, the court will grant the relief requested in the petition for a restraining order if Miller, whom is non-binary and uses they them pronouns, doesn't appear at the hearing. It cites the Federal Violence Against Women Act, which gives the order board jurisdiction nationwide. They move around so much that we're stuck in this legal situation that we can't serve them in any place they're in long enough, Chase Iron Eyes told the Times. They've been flighty, they've been avoiding service, and now there's public pressure mounting on them to make a decision, which has us very concerned about Ezra's volatile nature. We're working very hard to get this order enforced wherever they are. We've moved past the point of the whole Ezra Miller is a menace to society meme. This is disturbing, to say the least, and needs to be taken care of. I've seen a lot of discourse about just can the Flash. I don't know how that would work. I think there's a lot of lawsuits coming their way if that happens. And this is a situation where looking at it from what we cover, obviously the greater tragedy here is this young woman being taken advantage of by Ezra Miller, and they belong behind bars for what's going on here. I have a hard time knowing team just throw it away, just scrap the movie. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do from here. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I think there's no good way out at this point.
No, because they're not going to dish out the money to reshoot the movie with a different actor. They're not going to dish out the money to deep fake someone else over Ezra Miller's face. And at that point, you're getting into the weird territory of they still acted on the movie and there's still a contract there that's being breached technically.
Yeah.
Maybe they run the movie and donate the profits to charity. But then we'd have to trust WB to do something good.
That is true.
Like it took 3/4 of the way through the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial for them to finally say hey, maybe we shouldn't have both of them. We fired the one pretty early on. Maybe we should just not talk to either one again.
Yeah. This is such a clusterfuck for WB, and again, I just can't emphasize enough that is not the most important factor here. It's just the factor that we are equipped to talk about in a meaningful way, and I just this is so disappointing and so heartbreaking. And
Well, I mean, I think that's it. Just that's what we're going to talk about because the other stuff is all like obviously lock them up, done,
yeah,
right? Like that's the conversation.
yeah, no, you're right. It's very unambiguous. Other than the what the hell are they gonna do about the movies?
Right.
You put that very well. I agree with you. Um, I agree with
And
you
how long has
completely.
WB known about this? That like this might be a reason the Flash keeps getting delayed, right? Um,
I wouldn't go that far.
I
I feel
wouldn't
like
either, but
yeah, I would say that the development about this grooming debacle is fairly new for all parties. You know, I mean, the the musical chairs of getting a director for Flash on its own was a clusterfuck. Um, and that's to say nothing of once the pandemic became a factor as well. Um, I'm sure there will be plenty of conspiracy theories about it. But yeah, we will be bringing updates on this story if and when we get them. And let's hope for a safe and healthy dismount for Dakota and her family. Yeah. On a lighter note, music note, even. uh, Travis and I talked about this yesterday. We're going back to our roots. You know, this our rapport and our dynamic as content creators started in a place of making fun of Todd Phillips' Joker. And
I gotta say, man, I listened back to some of our review.
yeah,
We were a lot nicer than that movie had any right to be nice to.
I only
At
listened
least
to
at first.
I only listened to a little bit, and I there were a handful of like shocks to the system. The first one was that was the episode where we told the story about us almost dying trying to record an audio commentary for the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Back in the Dewback days. I needed to take a shower because we said nice things about Jason Ward.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I also
long before we had any idea what was going on there. What were you gonna say, Travis?
I was just like that also when because you mentioned the article I'm like, oh yeah, first oh yeah, I remember that. Wait a minute.
um yeah, I didn't make it the whole way through. I don't even think I made it past Slice of Life. It was just it's such a weird time capsule, and is very funny in that way. But
We do
like I
sound
said-
very unbroken in it.
huh?
We sound very unbroken. Like 2020 hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. What's
We're
really
just
funny is the foreshadowing. Because I don't remember what was going on in the news, but you made a joke about China.
I couldn't remember either. I was
And
like,
I know we were making fun of Xi Jinping. Because I think that was the beginning of like him cracking down on any depiction of Winnie the Pooh. Because that was the beginning of like everybody calling Xi Jinping like, you know, saying he's built like Winnie the Pooh. Which is funny in its own right. But like 2019, November-ish, like that's when like COVID was starting to percolate in China. And just hearing you feel like, oh man, the news out of China is not great. And I'm like, this is probably about Xi being an authoritarian piece of shit.
yeah, I know it was not about COVID. I do remember that was not what the joke was. I just don't remember what it was.
I know.
Like clearly it didn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, in the grand scheme of the multiverse.
but it
I
felt
have no
like
idea.
foreshadowing, and it was very unnerving. But yeah, I I kind of want to go back and listen to the review, and eventually we're gonna have to go back and watch Joker, because last week Todd Phillips. If you had told me last week where we'd end up right now, I would tell you you're fucking nuts. Todd Phillips announced that he, it looked like finishing work on a sequel for Joker. The subtitle being
told
French
me
for
a year ago that there'd be a Joker 2.
uh
I
and
would have told you. I'm so tired.
and then I'd follow it up that it's a musical co-starring Lady Gaga as Harley. So he revealed that he's working on Joker 2, and that the title, I'm not even going to attempt the French, but the subtitle is called Madness for Two. The term itself refers to basically two individuals who have like the same type of crazy. It's like an actual medical term. How in use it still is in psychiatry, I'm not sure. But yesterday, around 8 p.m. last night, news broke that Joker 2, this is per the Hollywood Reporter exclusive, could have Lady Gaga starring opposite Joaquin Phoenix as Harley Quinn in what will be a musical. The article also is like missing a section. So like when you first click on the Hollywood Reporter article, it has like the picture of Joaquin, Todd, and Lady Gaga, and then under that is just like the comic book exclamation point. Here, wait, I'll screen share it. It is just this is a placeholder logo text. Anyway, which I don't know.
That's all Todd Phillips deserves.
Maybe that's just them going, we live in a society bottom text. I don't know. Joker is back and he's bringing a friend. Lady Gaga is in early talks to star opposite Joaquin Phoenix in director Todd Phillips' sequel to Joker, the 2019 Oscar-winning $1 billion Warner Bros. Hit based on the DC Comics villain. Phillips has been co-writing the script with Joker co-writer Scott Silver for some time and has finally shown it to the studio. Last week, Phillips received revealed on social media that the title of the new project, Joker Folie à Deux, assuming that's how you say it, the title referencing a medical term for identical or similar mental disorder that affects two or more individuals, usually members of the same family. And while the same social media post showed Phoenix reading the script, the actor's involvement is not exactly a legal fait accompli just yet. Never heard that term before. Sources tell our reporter that Warner's has yet to close a deal with the actor, with the two sides deep into it. Details on her character are being kept under wraps, but Joker is known for his on and off abusive relationship with Harley Quinn, his psychiatrist at the mental institution known as Arkham Asylum, who falls in love with him and becomes a sidekick and partner in crime. It is unclear whether Phillips and company are using other DC characters or striking on their own, as they did in many instances with their first movie. If a deal makes, Gaga would play Quinn. However, this new Quinn exists in a different DC universe than Margot Robbie, blah, blah, blah. But wait, that's not all. Sources say the sequel is also a musical. The Warner Bros. First made Joker, it was far from a sure thing. A dark and moody character piece, the project was a taxi driver meets king of comedy descent into madness set in the late 70s decaying city. That's one way to put it. One could also call it a ripoff. Commercial prospects were deemed nominal, and it was only given a budget of $60 million. By the time it was released in October 2019, Joker was riding a wave of adventure from the fall film festivals, which helped propel the movie into a record-breaking box office weekend. with analysts changing their predictions every day, and ended its theatrical run as the number 4 highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. It then earned 11 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and 1 Best Actor for Phoenix and Best Score. Phillips previously produced A Star is Born, the 2018 remake that starred Joker producer Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. So, yeah. Travis?
So I remember having listened to a little bit of what we talked about 3 years ago. 3 years ago. That we were both very worried that Joker would be quite the contributor to the tube of the alt-right pipeline that leads into pop culture, right? We were worried the Joker would set off some kind of event somewhere that caused a problem, and we were lucky enough that it didn't. And I think we were in a time where we were very reaching at the time for oh man, this could be bad. It won't, it probably won't be. It could be bad. I think now it's less of a, oh, that might be bad. And now I'm sitting here going, it'll be bad. It's just something's gonna happen. Someone's gonna shout, "We live in a society," as they commit an atrocity in the United States, and it's gonna be great.
I surprisingly, especially because, I follow those types of Looney Tunes a little closer than is probably healthy for me. I'm not as worried about that. Quite frankly, I think if you look back at Joker as it is in 2019, if you were to release that today, the same people who we were like, oh, this might be some type of rallying point, this might be, and even if nothing violent comes of it, there is still the worry that this would become this thing that the weird nerd alt-right would put on a pedestal, and it would become something that was hard to enjoy. There are all kinds of what are the worst people on the internet going to do with this? The worst people on the internet have done nothing but get worse since this movie had come out. But today, I think it would get panned by all of those people. I think you would have an immediate conversation about why it's woke. I think that is exactly where that conversation would go. And all of it would be based on the fact that Zazie Beetz is a leading character. All of that, it would have everything to do with her involvement. The fact that the movie, despite being kind of phoned in from a screenwriting level, in our opinion at least, the fact that the movie's thesis ends with "eat the rich," I think would also potentially be, some type of "commie Hollywood is out of control" type thesis there by the end. So, depending on the direction Phillips takes this in, I don't know if this will be a flash for the nerd alt-right. There's a chance for it to be. Again, the way that Joker as a character pre the movie was such a symbol and icon of the nihilist online right. I think
he still is.
He still is, but it's been memed to death at this point. And there's a part of it that's it's almost like unironically rickrolling somebody, where there isn't a tongue-in-cheek nature to doing it. You know what I mean? You see, I don't think you can sincerely get away with an unironic "we live in a society" bottom text Joker meme. Even if you mean it completely in earnest, I think you would get fucking laughed out of the room. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am completely off base. I'm not that worried for that. I think this movie has the potential to be one of the most strange clusterfucks in the history of cinema, and
Oh
for
yeah,
that, I am very excited.
I don't think it's gonna be good. I think we're gonna get some weird, not speech, but like line during the press junket from Todd Phillips about how they're sneaking a real movie into a comic book movie into a musical or some shit, and that's gonna make me hate it even more.
Yeah,
Like, you know, I was talking with Lexi about it last night. She's like, "So wait, did you like Joker or not?" And I was like, "It was fine." And then the guy who directed it was trying to say how it was real cinema, and I was like, bro, you made 3 hangovers. Like, you don't
and old school. Don't forget old school.
like, and there's nothing wrong with making those movies either. I mean, there were some things wrong with those movies, but like, there's no, that me saying that is me using his own shit against him, but you get
Yeah,
my point. Like, I just hate that concept. And we've talked a lot about how much I don't like that concept. But
absolutely. I sincerely, you and I have both said, if it weren't for Todd Phillips being so incredibly dismissive and elitist about what he wanted to do when he set out to make Joker, I don't think I would. I don't think I'd be like, it's fine. I hate it. You just put such a bad taste in my mouth. And maybe it's a product of what we do. Would we have been aware of those quotes? Like if you and I were as engaged with like nerd news as we always have been, but take away the podcast, so like we're not in it all the time. Do we hear about those comments? Do they still offend and upset us? I don't know. I do know that Todd Phillips also got the ball rolling on let's ask every director what they think about a comic book movie so we can run with the same headline from Scorsese to fucking Roland Emmerich to all these other directors who just go something comic book movie bad. I want to make a 3-hour movie about a Bosnian toenail laying on the bathroom floor during it's that whole, you can either have like weird indie art house or Spider-Man, and you have to pick one or the other. I think it's stupid and asinine. And, not every superhero movie, every comic book movie has to be or is going to be a profound work of art. Sometimes it's cool to watch people in tights beat people up. Other times you get really, fascinating character studies. And the best ones somehow find a way to do both and be really heartfelt and have a lot of heart and soul to them while also just being fun, colorful beat 'em ups. And again, the irony that it's coming from the guy who made the motherfucking Hangover trilogy is astounding. And I like those movies, all 3. But I think this is a fascinating thing. Like, this seems like. Oh, I'm allergic to this movie already. Joker 2 is coming out, potentially co-starring Lady Gaga as maybe Harley Quinn, and it's also a musical. Sounds like a joke from a show already makes fun of pop culture stuff. It sounds like a joke you come up with. Like, it sounds like
I made a bot read 1,000 like comic book movie headlines, and this is what it came up with.
Exactly. Yeah. So I hate to be pessimistic from the jump, but in my opinion, Todd Phillips has not earned my faith in the way that I, with a lot of comic book projects, will just be like, sure, let's go. So I am kind of rooting against this movie. I want to see it take a big swing And you know what? If it's good, it's good. You know, Travis and I have no problem admitting that Joker is not a bad movie. We just
Yeah.
don't like the guy who made it, and it's also not very original. And it's the way that he just like kept talking about a movie that just ended up being the king of comedy if it were in Gotham. It was
Every
weird.
comic book movie is the same. It's ruining cinema because they're all the same.
Control
Anyway,
C, Control V, king of comedy screenplay.
I found this recipe for a cake on the back of a Betty Crocker box, and it's now my cake recipe.
This man is something wild. But yeah, stay tuned for updates on Joker 2.
It's like he complained about how everyone uses one box of cake mix. And like in doing so, like, yeah, I can't believe everyone uses this brand of cake mix. It's so unoriginal and so generic. Anyway, I'm switching to this other brand of cake mix.
Yeah. Anyway, here's my Pillsbury.
Yeah.
So yeah, jumping from one astoundingly hilarious story to another, one that Travis doesn't have the right to talk about because he didn't suffer as I have suffered.
I've been morbed. I have technically seen Morbius.
Finish the sentence, Travis. Let the lovely people know the context in which you've seen Morbius.
I've seen the entire thing compressed into about a second and a half.
This is from comicbook.com, Jenna Anderson. Sony's Morbius movie is returning to theaters, comicbook.com can confirm. This is all the way back last weekend. It also apparently there's like a passionate Discord community for it that I don't trust anyone who's in there to be alone with Jared Leto, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that was the whole thing, and it barely made any money a second time. I've never seen a movie flop twice, and tying into that, which I don't think there's any way to get around this. I think that Sony's doing their No Way Home re-release in September. I think that was always going to happen, but I think they're absolutely going to be pushing really hard on like, come look at Matt Murdock and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield some more to kind of stop the bleeding, as it were, with Morbius. So yeah, there's also the No Way Home, re-release on the horizon. And also still Sony Spidey related. We have our villain for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And I'd be lying if I wasn't a little disappointed. I think it's a great pick. I want Morlun and his family of pan-dimensional vampires that feast exclusively on spider people. We did, however, get the announcement of some more cast members and the fact that Jason Schwartzman will be playing the villain of The Spot, made famous in the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is due up in just under a year. So, yeah. Cool stuff there. The art, I will say, the art looks really cool. They also have him kind of doing like the iconic thing where, you know, you come through the portal and then it opens up somewhere else and he's making Miles kick Gwen. It's cool. But yeah, Travis, thoughts on The Spot?
It's nice to just have like a normal story. Like, yes, we got an image and some casting announcements for a movie coming up that everyone's excited for. That's nice.
Not The Flash is a Predator and Joker 2 is a musical.
Yeah, man, I don't need that. I don't.
Not that it's funny. Okay, we're not laughing. It's just the buck wild nature of this week's news cycle.
Yeah.
Is like it feels like a fever dream. I will say I am a little pit. We also have a trailer for Black Adam. I don't think we're gonna do like a full trailer breakdown. It's pretty. I mean, we get better looks at like Dr. Fate and the rest of the Justice Society. It looks cool. Not a whole lot to go off of though, but very excited for it nonetheless. I am frustrated by the No Way Home re-release a little bit because they originally promised a bunch of deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. And then the Blu-ray came out, and then they just kind of slowly pretended they never said a bunch of deleted scenes were going to be on the Blu-ray. And it's clearly so they can make an event out of re-releasing the movie, which I get. Still shitty. So slightly frustrated by that, but I'm a shill. I'm a shill. So I will go see it, and because I'll probably get a cool poster from it. But yeah. Travis. Ms. Marvel.
Miss Marvel.
What'd you think so far? This pilot episode.
This show seems to be falling into the camp of good but not for me. Like good but not made for me, I should say.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't know if the show is going to ever explicitly say that she has ADHD. But the show itself definitely has ADHD, and I don't mean that as a negative necessarily.
I know exactly where you're going with this, and I think I'm going to end up co-signing what you're about to say.
You know, the stylization and how it depicts everything's really cool and really new, and I enjoy it quite a bit. It was a lot to digest in 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I still don't like the powers thing, you know?
Yeah, it was cool. The scene, like, you know, she only uses the powers once. It's very much. At first I thought, you know, calling it Green Lantern Ian was going to be a little reductive. But that comparison really does hold water. And I am liking the show so far. I am holding out hope that the power set does get rectified in the future. We'll see what happens with that. And again, as much as I dislike it, if they continue to get Kamala's character as right as they are, I think this will be one of those situations where they made the show work despite that glaring issue. And if they keep moving in the direction, which it seems like they are, talking about her and her relationship with her family and her faith and wanting to be her own thing and, you know, not being is put in a box the way she is, I think they might be able to get the same story told of, you know, it's messy, it's complicated, but it's who you are. Again, without the aid of the power set itself being like a metaphor for all of it on top of that. I'm interested. I mean, did you watch the post credit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. First of all, I want to say I think it's really interesting that we are now 2 Marvel projects in a row that are in some way directly referencing No Way Home. Like that is more direct, like acknowledgement of the existence of Spider-Man post the Spider-Man project that we've ever really gotten. You know, like before, like Homecoming came out And then until the next time Spider-Man showed up, crickets about Spider-Man in universe. On the heels of No Way Home, we have Doctor Strange and
Strange. I was trying to think of like what's the second one? Like obviously this post-credit scene, but what was the second one? What else talks about? Oh right.
Like they name drop him.
Yeah.
And which again, like I can't really think of any other time happening in a movie that he wasn't involved in. Like at first I was like, well, there's that joke Hulk makes about there's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man, but that's Infinity War. He's in that. So I think it's interesting. It gives me hope. It gives me hope for Spidey moving forward in the MCU. Iman is so good as Kamala. I saw talk about how we're one episode in and she's already in the Robert Downey Jr., Hugh Jackman like pantheon of you were born to play this freaking character. And I have a hard time disagreeing. I have a very hard time disagreeing with that. I will say I agree with you on the this clearly was not made with me in mind, which is okay, and I'd say good.
That's not a negative. That's just
absolutely. But I think it's the kind of swing that the MCU kind of has to take to, like there's going to be completionists like you and me who you slap that Marvel Studios logo on something, I'm going to watch it. So they have like the devoted loyalty of folks like us already. But I do think this is really interesting, and I do like the style of the show, with like the speech bubbles and the little things that pop up. Like during Kamala's little crackpot plan to get into AvengerCon. It's very.
Mm-hmm.
With like the time, with like her timetable, like showing up and then getting crossed out. It was very adorable. They do lean into like she's definitely being coded as being ADHD, neurodivergent in some way. But yeah, I really like it so far. I'm very curious as to how this is going to tie into the Marvels. I think it's kind of a matter of when and not if as to when Carol will show up and in what capacity we will see her appear. Fuck Zoe on every level.
Yeah.
First of all,
that was the weird popular girl, right?
Don't be a bully to my girl Kamala. Don't deliberately aim for her face in basketball, you racist bitch. You can't convince me that wasn't racially motivated. And then be a nerd. Own who you are, Zoe. We welcome you. Just stop being a bitch. Just stop being a dick. That's all you got to do. Don't be a dick. What else? Oh, I will say, I think part of what they're doing with her powers, we'll see how the story plays out. And again, I hope this is a stepping stone to getting towards actual embiggening. I think that because of the Bengal, that that like, as at first it was like, oh, we wanted her powers to be more consistent with the other Marvels, and I'm like, okay, whatever. This feels less like that and more an interesting like tech hero. And I think they're going to be moving in a direction to like play with her and Bruno and his intellect. Like I think this is going to end up being like a Ned and Peter situation where they just like talk nerd shop and find a way to like make the powers do more stuff. Which again, I'm not completely sold on the power change yet, and I don't think I ever will be. But there's potential to do cool stuff with what they're doing, and I'm curious to see what direction they go in with it. Like this is where that like I don't like it, but I'm going to give you room to attempt to do something with it type territory. So yeah, there's that. And have you seen any of The Boys yet?
Nope. Like I said, it is content summer, and between Obi-Wan, this show, and Stranger Things season 4, part 1 being out, I didn't even know The Boys was coming out until you were like, "Hey, have you watched The Boys yet?" And I was like, "The Boys is out."
It did kind of
Why?
sneak up on us. Oh, honestly, a
Why?
lot of that has to do with the fact that like I didn't cover any. We covered one trailer, and we were both like, "Oh, I don't want to look at anything else because I want to be surprised." And then the release snuck up on us, because
The
we
only
both
thing
did that.
I've seen the PSA clips from Soldier Boy. Right, those have been making the rounds on social media.
See, those haven't even really shown up in the show yet. Really, not that I can remember. And like
That's good.
I just swore off any of the marketing for The Boys because I don't want to get spoiled for anything. Like, and I know you don't necessarily care about spoilers, but this isn't a big spoiler. Like, Soldier Boy did not become a major player until this past episode.
That makes
Because
sense.
they're
I
very
mean, we
much doing
weren't
the
sure he
whole
was going to be anyway.
they're very much doing like the Captain America thing, where like in the first batch of episodes that came out for the premiere, like they showed us a flashback with Soldier Boy, but like episode 4 is where Soldier Boy like really enters the picture in a big way. But yeah, well, before I talk about The Boys, how's Stranger Things been? Because I've been meaning to catch up on Stranger Things, and I've been hearing very good things about this past season.
Oh yeah, it was excellent. It's been excellent, and there's 2 episodes coming out in July that are both like mini movies, basically, because all of the episodes in season 4 are at least an hour 15, if not longer. The last 2 were slated to be like 2 hours long each. So at this point, they're just making little mini movies.
Very season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm just interrupting you for a moment. I thought season 4 was it. I didn't
A
realize
lot of
season
people
5
did.
was a thing. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I remember reading that, and I was like, oh, I guess I was wrong with like the way they were like, the last 2 episodes are fucking feature length, and I was like, oh, cool. But anyway, as you were saying,
No, a lot of people did not realize this wasn't the final season. I did WandaVision myself a little bit with this show, not to the point that I'm upset with how it's going, but
you're just really disappointed that Mephisto hasn't shown up yet.
exactly. No, I like an episode or 2 in, we're watching it and there's a new villain, so it's, there's a lot of mystery back as compared to like season 3 where we're shown everything that they're fighting in the beginning and then the rest of the characters have to figure it out, right? Like we're shown the main villain and then we don't know who they are, what they do, or why they're there. And part of me was hoping, since season 1 was so focused on MK Ultra, that somehow we like these experiments would link back to like the Nazi occult stuff.
Shit. Okay.
Right? I was like, oh man, well, like maybe the Nazis did some weird shit and opened the Upside Down first, and that's why it's been existing before season 1, so that they can explain it. No, none of that happened. I made all that up on the spot. I was mildly disappointed.
I'm Travis. I will probably watch like I've only seen. I watched part of season 2. I never finished it. I watched all of season 1 and I really enjoyed it. and I want to go back and get completely caught up in time to watch the final season with everybody, like I did with Game of Thrones. I can tell you this: it's going to be hard for them to live up to what you just came up with.
I did it with this. I did it with the Snyder Cut, where I'm the king of overshooting.
One could say maybe you're just a good screenwriter.
Yeah, because I don't have a budget.
You still have not said. I'm still not wrong. I'm still not wrong for what I just said, though.
I'm also back into Behind the Bastards mode, so maybe that was influencing my. What if it's Nazis?
Oh, did you listen to the Alex stuff?
Oh, yeah, I sure did.
Am I one step closer to knowledge fight pilling you?
Yes.
Yeah. I can see you the playlist that has all the depositions.
Yeah, I listened to those, and now I'm listening to the Kissinger series. Yeah. I'm
Death to all of them.
Yeah, I got to part 3.
Of Henry Kissinger.
Yeah. No, it's more like death to all of them, I guess.
Yeah. I am casually violent. But no, I have been hearing really good things about Stranger Things, and I'm really excited to get back into that. Like I said, I watched the first season. I really enjoyed it. I'm making the thumbnail episode. It's making. I deliberately picked like a funny picture of Joker, and it's. I'm just gonna send you a picture of what the thumbnail looks like currently. But yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. And just while we're talking about it, we're doing well on time. Real quick before I do my little quick rundown on the boys, what have you been thinking of Obi-Wan?
Oh, I've loved it. Oh, it's everything I wanted, dude. I've been so happy with it. Like from the moment, and granted, like, you know, we've had the, you know, old curmudgeon man escorts small uppity child so many times, but there was something about like the moment the idea of little Leia showing up happened. I was like, okay, you sold me. And that little girl is
born to play Leia.
Absolutely. Like, they've written her perfectly. She's acting exactly as she should. Everything's perfect. You know, I love everything we got with him and Vader in episode 3.
Yeah.
I love that Imperious Inquisitorius.
I wish I didn't have to watch that episode alone. Like, I've never considered doing an episode reaction before, but I kind of wish I had a camera set up on me for episode 3 because that shit was bonkers. Like, it was a religious experience for me personally.
Yeah. I love that we now have this running gag of Imperious Inquisitorius. Like, the underwater hallways keep breaking open.
You'd think they'd find a way around that, but these are the same people who got annihilated by a 1 meter wide thermal exhaust port. So,
and then went, what if we did it again?
Well, hey, in their defense, they went to the exhaust port on Death Star 2.
Yeah, that's true, but you know they would have left it there. Like, you know they would have sawed it again. There's no way they do it again. There's no way. There's a 1 in a million shot. There's no way they do it again. Because the people building it don't know it was a space wizard. And you know Sidious isn't looking at those plans.
To be really annoyingly, actually, something like an exhaust would probably be necessary. The thing we weren't aware of is that Galen Erso made it so that, like, that exhaust port would fucking light the whole ship on fire from the inside.
Oh, yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is I know how empires, both, you know, real or fictional, work. And no one in the command chain would have thought to have looked at the blueprints and changed that.
Yeah.
They would have been like, just do it again. Because Sidious doesn't give a shit, right? Vader mildly gives a shit, but not enough to do anything. And anyone actually working on the plans doesn't know there are space wizards.
That is true. That is true.
Any hoozles. Loved it. I've loved every bit of it so far. Very excited for the next episode. I saw maybe the funniest TikTok about it yesterday,
Yeah.
which someone was like, all right, episode 5 in 2 days. On a Dave Filoni, it's a Dave Filoni episode. You know what that means. Mando time!
I honestly, that joke acknowledged, and this isn't a knock against Dave. I think they need to really consider doing like single director shows. Because
Yeah.
Deborah Chow has been beating the shit out of this show. Like, sincerely whooping this show's ass. And it is incredible. Like, she really, really gets Star Wars. And I want more and more of her working in the universe. Also, Vader's the main character, and I don't care what anybody else says. Unsurprising from me. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm very excited for these final 2 episodes. So, The Boys season 3 so far, I really, really liked it. The direction they're taking with Homelander is really good. There is a, how do I put this? Every episode he seems to double down on being the remarkable piece of shit that he is. And every episode, Homelander feels more terrifying. Like, we're at the point where when I was like looking for good images of Homelander to use in the thumbnail, I kept coming across the image that's used in the meme where it's him like big goofy smile on the airplane in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like a behind the scenes picture. Like seeing Homelander, even though that is in like a context, like lest we forget, newer listeners, keep in mind, watching season 1 of The Boys, I almost had to quit the show because of the Flight 37 scene. Like that chilled me to my core. Like the gore, the violence, that did not affect me anywhere near as much as what Homelander and Maeve did on that airplane. Mostly Homelander. This season, he's just different, and it's scary. Like Homelander is sincerely horrifying this season, and it is because of the way he carries himself. And
it seems like, based on the promotional material I've seen, and if I'm wrong, you can tell me. I won't be upset about that. It seems like, because in season 2 we see him having a bit of a rough patch with Vought. And I've heard the line, and this, it might be trailer magic, where Giancarlo Esposito is telling Homelander that, you're defective product, basically.
That is a line of dialogue. That conversation happens in the most recent episode 4.
It seems to me, based on just a couple of clips I've seen, that Homelander is carrying himself very much in the way of, I know that they don't like me, but I also know there's nothing they can do about me.
There is a lot of that. And on top of that is like he's adopted Stormfront's I'm going to be who I am aggressively nature. And like obviously there are alt-righty vibes that come from Homelander. I do to this day think that making Homelander not explicitly racist or explicitly a white nationalist, but just a Homelander supremacist
Yeah.
is the most interesting decision they could have gone with. Because while I think, and again, Anthony Starr, keep him honest, cover people fairly, he's had his own, troubles lately. He got into a drunken bar fight. I, however, will say I have less contempt for someone who got fucked up and beat somebody up in a bar fight than I have more. I don't have as much contempt for him as I do the Predator. I think there's levels to celebrities misbehaving and things that are beyond the pale. And I don't hate Anthony Starr because he got into a bar fight and fucked the guy up. Like, it's not good. I would never co-sign the behavior. But, I've also witnessed bar fights before. So it's not, it is what it is. He is so committed to this role, and if he does not at the very least receive an Emmy nomination for this performance, I'm going to throw up. Because again, it would have been such a layup for him to just get radicalized by Stormfront in season 2. And instead what they've done is have his ego be radicalized by her. And how much I so don't want to spoil this show for you. Part of me really wants to talk plot, but I don't want to ruin stuff for you, man. Okay, I'll leave the Homelander stuff there. I'm not super into what they're doing with Huey. Now, episode 4, they kind of started to me where they're going with it. I haven't been super into Huey, though. He feels insecure, and not in the way that Huey's been insecure, where he's just kind of like a schleppy guy, but he knows who he is, and he's like proud of who he is, there's a sense of Huey of like, especially by season 2, we're like, I'm the soft guy of the group, Frenchie, Butcher are, varying degrees of hard ass murderers. My girlfriend is a fucking superhero. He seems pretty well adjusted to his place and seems pretty confident in himself in his own way by season 2's end. Season 3, there's a possessiveness to him. There's an insecurity that episode 4, I think I see where they're going with it, and I'm going to give it a chance here. But as of now, I'm not super sold on what they're doing with Huey. Butcher's freaky this season. Last season, you and I had our conversations about how it felt like Butcher was completely off the reservation. And there would be no coming back for him from where it seemed like he was going in season 2. And then he doesn't hurt the kid and all of that stuff. And it was great. And it was adorable and it was sweet. Butcher, this is the beginning of him becoming what he hates. This is where it begins. It's interesting because at the beginning of the season, he's really playing by the rules. like government rules. Like he's not, wanton murder left and right, but eventually he is propositioned with the ability to get what he's always wanted, which is revenge. And I'm not going to specify how or what, but it begins a downward spiral for him. That when you consider where he is in the first episode, in the beginning of the first episode of season 3, and a choice he makes in that first episode, and then compare that to where he ends up already, it is quite disappointing. Not in a bad way, but like disappointing to see that like he really was on the cusp of like doing better and being better. And
he was a former alcoholic that got brought onto the Dr. Phil show and then handed a bottle of vodka.
Yeah. Like he really seemed like he was on the up and up, and then, he gets pushed back into that dark place. Really cool flashback in the first batch of episodes. It's so hard to tell what episode 1, 2, and 3 individually had, because I basically watched it as a movie.
Yeah, I almost watched episode 1 last night. Like I got home, settled in, ate, something, because I don't get home till like midnight.
Yeah,
usually, and I get home, I settle in. I'm like, all right, how long is episode 1 of The Boys? And I pulled it up, and it doesn't give you a time. Like everything else now will show you the time that an episode is like under the episode.
Yeah.
Amazon doesn't do that, so I'm like, all right. I clicked play. It pops up 1 hour and 5, and I was like, nah, not tonight.
Valid decision. I don't blame you for
this
that.
weekend. I will power through all 4 of them. I got 2 days.
So it'll be 5 by the weekend.
Still 5.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this season of The Boys so far. Curious to see where some certain plot threads go. But yeah, this continues. I think this might be my favorite superhero show. Like I was like, my level of excitement every time somebody like they were like, okay, and now we're back to 8 Train, and now we're back to the Deep. Oh my god, there's a fucked up scene with the Deep, man. Oh my god, dude. I retched a little bit. It was not good.
That's good. That does not excite me in the slightest.
Bring some Fresca. But with that, I think that's all we got. So, Travis, where can the lovely people find you, good friend?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram, fighting the urge to scream into the void, at Travis Political.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Where?
You guys can find me in Society on Twitter and Instagram at Dark Jedi 2552. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.nerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Nick. I keep losing my clips. Nick Johnson. And Paco, or as he is on our Patreon, go to saveinfowars.com and use code TNAP to get 5% off your order. That's TNAP, 5% off your order at saveinfowars.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
You did this.
You happen to see any of the Alex Jones documentary on CNN that aired on Sunday?
No.
I have some hang-ups about it. Not bad. Not bad.
Okay.
Actually, the one attorney who deposed one of the attorneys in the Sandy Hook case, who you hear the voice of quite a bit in the part 2 of the Alex Behind the Bastard. Mark Bankston is one of the talking heads for the documentary that they interview.
I've never heard so much joy in a lawyer's voice. Like while they're lawyering, I should say. Like I've never heard a lawyer be happy doing their job as I was hearing him just dismantle everything that was Alex Jones on the stand.
Travis, you need to listen to Formulaic Objections. I'm going. The one moment I hit stop, I am sending you the playlist of those episodes.
Man,
It's so good.
Yeah.
Knowledge Fight will change your life. It's so good. It is so fucking good. Guys, $5 tier of the Patreon. Audio commentaries from Movie Club. We should have the Revenge of the Sith Movie Club out this week, and then we're going to take the rest of June off for Movie Club, and then we'll be back in July because Devin's got some traveling and vacationing going on, so we're just going to take a little breaky for us. That's another Knowledge Fight joke that Travis will get if he starts listening. I'm going to get him, guys. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get another one hooked on Knowledge Fight. Pardon me. That like little hiccup, cough, burp, indigestion going on there. Versus series this month: Anakin Skywalker versus Ahsoka Tano. There are eras specific here that make that a fair fight. I promise. And then either this week or next week, we'll be back with number one contender. I've been super behind on the fucking Schmodown. I just need to sit down and like watch everything I've missed in one go. And my best bet is to do that on a Friday, which means that I immediately have to follow that up with that day's Friday Night Titans. And then we'll be good to do like a big recap. So anybody who typically listens to number one contender, apologies that we've been behind on that. Speaking of the most recent episode of Knights in the Nerd Republic, if you want to hold yourself over on Obi-Wan Kenobi Eve, we did our review of episodes 3 and 4 with Frank Janish. He kind of invited himself on the pod, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, dude. Come on, let's go. So, yeah, go check all that out. Go consider the Patreon. Go check out our student store where you can get all manner of TNAP merchandising. I can't find any of my clips. There it is.
TeePublic.com.
But with that, thank you all so very much for watching and listening. And class dismissed.